Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and today we're taking a look at a pretty unusual Belgian/German 32 ACP caliber self-loading carbine from just before World War I. This is a Tirmax carbine. It was manufactured by a German company by the name of Franken und Lunenschloss. They were registered in Cologne, Germany, and they were also registered in Liege, Belgium. And while the company appears to have been German, the manufacturing and the proofing was most definitely done in Belgium. So I suspect they had an arrangement where they had a nice cheap manufacturing center in Liege, which would have been typical of Liege. That was set up in 1908 or 1909. And then the company actually ceased to exist in 1914 because of World War I. So we have just a very narrow time frame where they were able to manufacture these guns. So you'll see them, really the only place you'll see these show up is advertising from that period of time. There's a 1911 Alpha catalog that has these, as well as something like the Dreißi 32 caliber carbines as well, which is a very similar style of rifle. Now this is in 32 ACP or 7.65 Browning. It is a simple blowback action, although it has a little bit of an element here that's kind of reminiscent of the Winchester self-loading rifles, the 1905s and 07s and 1910s. It's almost a simple blowback action with one little twist to it. So a very handy, nice little rifle, probably would have been a good sporting rifle, good target rifle, and maybe what you might call a rook rifle, something for shooting rabbits or hares, close range, small game. Anyway, let's take a closer look at it, and then we're going to take it out to the range and see how it is to shoot. So we know this by the name Tirmax, simply because of the advertising catalog that it showed up in. There are actually basically no markings whatsoever except for a serial number and proof marks on here. The manufacturer is not listed, the brand name is not listed, none of that stuff. What we do have is a serial number here on the side, and I think I can pretty safely guarantee that they didn't make 48,000 of these carbines. That was clearly a serial number range that was started somewhere other than 0. And then you can see a couple remnants of a couple proof marks there. And then here are our main proof marks on the barrel. And these are all very clearly Belgian in origin. So the magazine for this is a 5-round, very pistol-like magazine with a magazine catch in the front of the trigger guard that allows this to come out. There's the notch that holds the magazine in place. Just 5 rounds, single stack, nice and simple. There is a push-button safety on the rifle, so have safe and fire. This is actually the hammer. That is an external extension of the hammer. So you can dry fire it and that will go up. This is similar to the Mannlicher pistols, the Mannlicher 1900 and 1905 pistols. And then if you have a round that doesn't want to fire, you can simply recock the hammer from the outside and try it again. Now, cycling the bolt manually is done with these handles. That's the part that I mentioned something was reminiscent of the Winchester system, and that's it. Now, one other thing in fact, it's convenient to point out at this point, this isn't quite just a simple blowback based on the weight of the bolt and the strength of the recoil spring. This is also, recocking the hammer requires a non-trivial amount of force. So part of what's set up here is the force required to recock the hammer with each shot is part of what delays the opening. Although I suspect it still goes very quickly. So you can see the hammer moves as I start to pull this handle back, but it's actually really hard to cycle the bolt. Much easier to cock the hammer first, and then I can quite easily cycle the bolt. So that's how you would fire the thing. You would load the magazine, insert the magazine, cock the hammer, and then cycle the bolt to chamber the first round. We have a very precise, which is to say a very tiny rear notch sight there, and we have a second leaf. I suspect that is 50 and 100 meters, although they're not marked. And those are used in conjunction with this beaded front sight. Like the Dreißi light rifle, this kind of looks a little awkward and ungainly because you only need a very small receiver and barrel because of the small caliber. However, in order to make it comfortable for an adult, you need a much larger stock and pistol grip. So the gun looks kind of weirdly larger at the back end than it is at the front. this is very comfortable to hold and shoot. It's nice and light. Yeah, it seems like a pretty decent rifle. One other thing I want to point out, the catalog, the Alpha catalog states, one of their little sales pitches, is that this can be disassembled without tools, and that does not appear to be the case. I don't know where I would start to disassemble this without a whole pile of screwdrivers. It certainly looks like everything is screwed together. So I'm going to leave it together for the time being because I don't want to deal with a whole mess of pins and springs coming out. So instead, we are going to go ahead and take it out to the range now. Okay, it's time to do a little bit of shooting with the Tirmax. We have 5 rounds of 32 ACP, and we do have, of course, the hammer over here. So if I have a misfire, I can recock it without having to deal with the bolt, which should be nice. You do want to have the hammer cocked before you try to cycle the action. That just makes it a lot simpler to load the first round. I am told that this rifle is a little bit finicky, so let's find out. Oh, yeah, that one's stuck in there feeding. So, hammer's cocked. First round's chambered. Oh, 4 out of 5. All right, let's try one more magazine, see if I can get this a little bit smoother this time. All right, 5 rounds in. Hammer is cocked. Charge. Charge the first round. Nope. So what you can see here, the hammer is down but didn't fire. We'll recock it. This happens a lot. I wonder if there isn't a burr on the firing pin in there. And that was 3 rounds. Well, that is kind of one of the hazards of old Belgian guns, is occasionally you will have gunsmithing issues like that. I believe the owner is going to get that worked out. That is not, by the way, a legal issue. We are not in the United States at the moment, and that's just a malfunctioning gun issue. So, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. These are a quite scarce little carbine, not very many of them made. There's nothing particularly revolutionary about it, but it's a neat type of rifle that didn't show up all that much. The 32 ACP carbine is kind of an odd duck in the rifle world. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you like seeing this sort of thing, please do consider checking out my Patreon page. Support from folks like you makes it possible for me to travel to, today, Sweden, and take a look at a cool gun like this and show it to you. Thanks for watching.